Coming up next on the Breadwinning Mums.
Be patient. Good things take time. I have to learn to slow down. Very effective I am with my time, but I need to slow down. Surround yourself with the right people. Put yourself into circles of good people, but also negative people, whining people. Delete them. Be patient. Good things take time, okay? And surround yourself with the right people.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Breadwinning Mums podcast. This is a place where we debunk the myths of working mums, cheer each other on, and show the world that you can be a mum and still pursue excellence in your chosen area of expertise. Today we're chatting with John Cachia, an award-winning financial advisor, host of Cash Talk podcast, a husband to his beautiful wife, and a proud father of 3 boys. We talk about finding our ikigai or purpose in life beyond superficial accomplishments, how spirituality and our religious beliefs shape how we show up in the world, and the importance of patience to balance our high-achieving nature. Enjoy this episode with John Cachia. John Cachia, welcome to the Breadwinning Mums podcast.
Thanks for having me.
So this is a long time coming. We met at an industry roadshow a while ago where you shared a little bit about your story. I shared a little bit about my story. We both work in the financial planning world. We are seeing the world as more than just the business that we run, but the impact that we make as well in the world, in our family lives and beyond. But before we go into all of that, I'm just going to start with a very basic question. Who are you as a human, John?
I like to see myself as a husband, a father, a son, a handshake man, and a person that's trying to impactfully change the world in the best way I can. I'm very much, a faith-driven person. And so, my faith being Christianity is something that I'm very, very close to. I wouldn't call myself like a Bible basher, but it's something that's really close to my heart in regard to just, trying to see the good in people, as Jesus says, love one another as others have loved you, as I have loved you. So, just trying to walk in that shoes and create, amazing lives for people. And I think I'm very blessed to be in a position where I am, where I'm working with hundreds, if not thousands of people over the years that I've been able to be in this profession, helping people live out their dreams.
Did the faith started in your life? Was it something that you grew up in?
Yeah, very much so. So my grandfather, who was a very strong role model in my life, but he lived next door to me, and so I had my father, I had my grandfather, and I've had obviously other influences, my mother and all of that stuff. But my grandfather used to take me to school every day, and I went to a Christian-based school growing up, and we always used to go a little bit early to the school, and he would go in there, get the church ready for the morning mass that used to happen. And so, I entered in, being an altar boy, I entered in kind of Christian faith, but my whole family was very devout. And I'm talking from my grandparents' side of things. I never saw my dad's dad, but my dad's mum, she was someone that kind of did the rosary beads every single day. She'd walk to church. Other side, both grandparents who lived next door to me, very much so. We had I still remember my grandfather having the mother, Mary on the dashboard, and
Yeah.
he'd do the rosary and all of that stuff. So it was very much involved in my life. It wasn't something that was linear. Unfortunately, the priest who I was the altar boy in ended up being a pedophile.
Oh, no.
Nothing happened with me. But obviously other people were unfortunately went through that circumstance. And so, that kind of hit me a little bit because, up until that point, this person's a representation of what you've kind of believed in, walked away. A few kind of things happened in my life and I kind of returned back to the faith, and that was really good because I think that one of the things that I wanted to do was I wanted to make sure that I worked on my ikigai. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Jane's laughing because we were chatting about it. But, when you think about your ikigai, one of the main things in that is also your spiritual connection, your mind, body, soul. And I used to think the spiritual side was a little bit fluff, but then I started to kind of observe my grandparents. And my grandparents didn't have what you would call the most rosiest, cushy life. My grandmother and my grandfather on my mum's side, they were both pretty much orphans by their early kind of adolescent years. We're talking like 10, 12 years old. So, we've got young kids that are going through absolutely atrocities in their life, but found the faith a center for them to be able to get through. On my dad's side, my grandfather um, he was voluntary in the army, so he fought in World War II. He was in North Africa fighting against the Nazis, came back, palace guard, very respected person in Malta, but, he was disconnected from my grandmother. And Malta, for people that don't know, was bombed by the Nazis for 4 years straight. Every single day, every single night, they left Malta in rubble, like absolutely flattened. And she told me a story that one day a bomb went off near her and she was holding her baby, my auntie, yeah, and the baby flew off her hands. And lucky that another lady grabbed the
Wow.
baby. And I just think about that as a parent, and obviously, for those listening as well, too, as a parent, like the trauma.
Yeah.
And so I was going through some mental health battles on my return back to the faith through this. And it was like, I try and just say to people, it was just like there was a weight lifted off my shoulder. And then I started reflecting, like I said, on all of these things with my grandparents. And I'm like, well, they got through absolute disastrous atrocities and they kept doing the same thing, praying, praying, going back. And and for me now, that's probably around 6 or 7 years.
Mm.
And now I practice that with my children, which is beautiful. We pray before we go to sleep and, they all know, get into bed, do this. And it just, I think working on the mind, body, and soul. And then me being who I am, I then go research around the, correlation between mental health and the practices of prayer and meditation and all of that stuff. And you can see that, we're in a society now where people have kind of said, that's a bit fluff. Cool. Okay, that's fine. But also we're seeing the rise in mental health. And that's something that I've seen with me. And as the great Bruce Lee says, don't give your kids what you didn't have, teach them what you didn't know. So hopefully they don't need to wait 30 years to kind of understand the practice of prayer and why that's so important.
Yeah, that's amazing. Thanks for sharing. I think for most of us who have, well, I grew up in church as well.
Mm,
My parents are both devout Catholics.
mm,
I've had my fair share of uh, spiritual crisis, I
mm,
would say, where you would question the prescriptive nature of
mhm,
some institutions.
mhm,
But I think hearing how you've come full circle in your moment, at the moment that you've entered back into your faith in a deeper level, in a more mature level, I think that gives a much more grounded and lasting effect that you are teaching your children, you are teaching
mm.
your boys. So that's amazing.
Yeah, and everyone I think has a bit of a crisis. I think faith journey, fitness journey, whatever journey it is, it's
Yeah,
not linear.
yeah,
It's not linear. And yeah, I think it's just a matter of constantly trying to get better on who you are. And I
yeah.
think if we talk about who John is, John's the person that's trying to uplift and build people, make
Yeah.
them a better version of themselves.
Yeah.
So I also need to start with me being a better version of myself as well too. And that's what you're seeing in this phase of my life.
Yeah. Awesome. So let's go back to the very young John. You gave us a few glimpses of what your life was like. At the very earliest moment when you have explored your place in the world, what
Mm.
was that young John like?
It's it's a very like interesting looking back at my childhood. I was a very mature child, okay, and I'm talking from the ages of like some of the stories that I hear when I was like 5 years old, you know. Um, my mum and dad tell me that they would go pick me up at kinder, and I was the guy or the kid that I was reading the book to all of the kindergarten kids, and I'd tell the teacher like, "All good, I've got this." Yeah.
You can go away and take your team, miss.
Yeah, yeah. So like I think had this kind of leadership quality and I look at
Yeah.
like junior sports that I played and I'd always be maybe not the captain but the vice captain, but I'd always be the loudest on the team. I'd be coordinating the defense and it was always who I was. So and I
Hmm.
think that's come into who I am today, leading my team and leading, what I do in regards to the industry and that's coming out now like in a more I developed in mature way, but I was very much a mature kid. I was the person that the friends would call me dad. Yeah, I was the dad of the group.
Yeah.
If we went to do something cheeky, it was like, "You sure about this? Come on,
Yeah.
guys." Um, but I was always creative. I was always questioning. The other students in the classroom used to hate me because I would always be keeping them back at class because I'm asking questions. I was always inquisitive, but I'd also always question things. I think at like a story, another one was, I think I was in like grade two, and the teacher called my parents and they said, "Hey, listen, we need to have a chat to you about John." And my parents were a bit, taken back by that because John was the reliable John, the mature John, nothing wrong.
Mm.
And so they come, and my dad's there, and my mum's there, and you got to picture my dad at that point. He's a businessman. Yeah, he's time poor. And so if he's coming, it better be for a valid reason. Yeah, and my
Mm.
mum's dragged him along, pulled him by the ear, and said, "You're coming." Anyway,
Mm.
teacher sits there and says, "Listen, John's disrupting the class. Okay, we're doing a mathematics equation, and John's telling the classmates that don't listen to the teacher. She's doing it the wrong way. You need to be doing it this way." And my mum's like, I'm there, and my mum's like, "John, why are you disrupting? Blah blah blah." And you'll see where I get this from. My dad just says, "Did he get the question wrong? Did he get the question wrong?" And she said, "No, but that's not the point."
Yeah.
He grabbed my mum, he grabbed me, he said, "I'm getting out the room." He said, "If my son at grade two can figure out a solution quicker than you can,
Yeah.
you better be listening to him." And then walks out. But it was my dad that was the
Yeah.
one that was giving me the innovation, yeah,
Yeah.
the curiosity, the
Yeah.
John, nothing's impossible. That comes from my father. My father had a very successful business when I was very young, okay, and at the age of 5, my dad's 40 years old and decides that he wants to retire. Yeah.
Mm.
And in hindsight, it was probably a mental burnout. Yeah.
Mm.
He's kind of just gone, "I've had enough." He had contracts to build some of the buildings in Dubai in the early 90s. So he was one of the real pioneers in regards to office buildings and stuff like that. He's in business with his best friend from Malta. They've both migrated here at the same time. As we know, Jane, this story's going. They didn't have watertight agreements, okay,
Mm.
and the sum that was supposed to get paid to my father never came. Okay. And so we went from, let's call it hero to zero to make it easy. And I think my dad, being me 5, you got to think I'm in the car with my dad all the time. I'm in that real sponge moment. The Egyptians say, "Give me a 7-year-old boy and I'll show you the man." So they talk about all of the values and the person you are. I think from 5 to like 7 or 9. And it's crazy because as a parent now, I see this.
Mm.
He was like, "I am going to like every mistake that I've ever made, I'm never going to let John do it."
Mm.
And he just supercharged all
Mm.
of his life experience into that young boy. So it's funny. like I knew about family trusts when I was like 5.
Mm,
So then when I was like 14 and my mum goes, you got to go get a job because that's what we're used to. Yeah. 14 and 9 months, go get a job.
mm,
I go get a job at my cousin's financial advisory practice. And it was like I was primed for it, Jane. I get in and I'm just like, "Oh, this is amazing." And
mm,
so I'd go after high school, go on weekends, go on school holidays. Absolutely loved it. I can turn people's dreams into a reality. I can push my curiosity. But though me and my cousin are very similar, we're also not the same in a way too. Okay, and my cousin's still in the industry. I'm very thankful for the opportunity, and he was a very much a role model on who I am. But at the age of 20, bottom of the global financial crisis, I say, stuff it. I'm going to go start my own financial advisory practice. To me, I wish, not wish, probably wish is not the right word. I think it would have been better for me to go work for someone else at that point at 20, for me to kind of explore my other ways. Because it was a 20-year-old full of testosterone thinking that the world is his oyster, and I just went hard at it. And the first kind of 20 to 30, I feel like I was mucking around. Like in hindsight, I didn't at
yeah,
that point. I was busting my chops. I was
yeah.
working really hard. I was doing what I wanted to do. And,
You're
for
doing
that,
your 10 hours practice.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
And when I say I'm mucking around, I'm a full-on person, but
yeah,
I wasn't very strategic.
yeah.
And it was only until like these events that happened, this kind of spiritual stuff, all of these events was happening that I changed my story. And um, as you see, Jane, I'm on this kind of spaceship chair. Okay. In 2019, I find myself overweight. And then because I was working too hard, I had my first son. We're pregnant with our second one. We're finishing our build all in that kind of moment. And I bust my L4, L5 disc. It completely explodes in my back. And
What
it
were
was
you
like
doing at this moment when it
I was
exploded?
just working too hard. I was sitting down at an office chair. I
Yeah,
probably did things around the house that aggravated it, but reality, just sitting down, not standing up, not looking after yourself, talk about mind, body, soul. This
yeah,
is not looking
yeah,
after it. Yeah.
yeah,
Um, and then I find myself in the hospital, staring up at the ceiling, going like, I've got this beautiful boy, absolutely adore him. I've got another one on the way. And I might not ever be able to play soccer with these kids, hold them. I may never be able to do some of the things that, and my dad had a bad back, so I kind of knew what I missed out on. My dad would tell me to be like, John, I wished I could have done with your older brother. Yeah,
mm,
because his
mm,
back happened in between that moment. And it
mm,
was like history was repeating itself. Yeah.
mm,
And then I said to myself, like, if I'm getting out of here and I'm gonna work on myself, yeah, and I need to love myself so I can love everyone else. And you can see how that's now gone full circle because now it's around not only who I have become and who I am now and what I'm practicing, but then how that then reflects onto the advice that I give clients. I tell people it's not about the zeros in the bank account that you'll judge us on. It's on the maximization of your life. So in saying that, we need you to spend more time with the people you love doing the things you love doing. Money's just a vehicle to enable that to happen. John, you're not a life coach. Okay, well, what's money about? Why are you going to work for? So then it's kind of, and not only has it come in a way where we've infused the behavior, the psychology into financial planning, it comes with confidence. It comes with execution that I'm not going to let you get to the point where I got to. And so this is what trauma does. I was speaking to a guy earlier this week who I highly respect. He's the ex-CEO of Pepsi, and he goes, John, you can only be happy if you know what sadness feels like.
mm,
You know, so
mm.
life's not linear, but it's not linear for a reason.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, so the pre and post
Mm,
realization, I would say. So
mm.
pre-realization, what did success mean to you when you were that John who were working extreme hours of the day, um, fully head down, tail up, focus in on the business and not
Mm.
looking after yourself and your family? What was
Yeah, it was
success?
it was very interesting. I had a lot of thoughts around this. I did a lot of psychology and I still kind of reflect on it as well too, because, I just became mentally stronger. But up until that point,
Mm.
it was survival. It was the
Not
Nazis are
getting
going to bomb us.
yourself to the
The
same
the Nazis are
position.
going to bomb us again.
Mm.
And what I mean, and I don't literally mean that.
Mm.
What I mean that is you got to remember, I grew up with people that everything got taken away from them.
Yep.
Security, 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 security. Build a war chest. Make sure that there's money for a rainy day. Make sure that your house is strong. Like
Yep.
you're having a family, you need to provide. It was
Yep.
all tomorrow, 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 tomorrow. Nothing for today.
Yep. You're
And if you,
living out of fear.
yeah, simple fear, and it's generational, and
Mm.
obviously now I'm aware of it and I know
Yep.
the techniques to apply even with clients, but back then you're living and breathing it. No, I need to work harder, I need to work harder, my wife's not working, she's having the kids, oh my gosh, I gotta do this. and
Yep.
and, and reality, responsibility of fatherhood. We talk about, parents and first time parents, and post traumatic, what do they call, it's the another post traumatic, what do they call it when you have a baby, Jane, and like the post baby blues.
Postnatal blues,
Yeah, well, for fathers as well
postnatal
too.
depression.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like, and for fathers, you've got this new fatherhood, this,
Yeah.
oh my goodness, I'm in this scenario, what do I do? This
Yeah.
was all happening during
Yeah.
that. And so it just aggravated
Yeah.
this security, because I've now got this baby to provide for and it's
Yeah.
relying on me. And
Yeah. Can
um,
we just take a moment to talk about that because it's so important. I think mums have more of a reason to say, "Oh, I've got post-baby blues because I had the pregnancy, I had the delivery." But it's equally important for dads to acknowledge that it was a significant shift in your life. And not only was it significant, if for a while it felt like you couldn't do anything anyway, but there is this significant shift in your life. Like, how should you go about things, right? So,
cor-
can you talk about how was that shift to you when you
yeah,
first had your
yeah,
firstborn?
it it took time, and I think just on what you said, we also had kids very young. And so we didn't have that friendship network. Like with my eldest son, like we are like the youngest parents by far. Like, you
How old
know,
were you when you had your first?
so I was 28 when I had my first
Okay,
child, yeah. And my wife was like 25, yeah. And so, a lot of my friends, they didn't have children. Yeah, they're having them at like 33, 34. Do you get me what I mean? Like
you're
by
the
the time probably
first.
we had our second
Yeah,
child, yes, they caught up, but not our first. Like
yeah,
we play soccer now and like the parents are like 5 or 10 years older than us. But
mhm,
when you're having kids, that's a different. Your
yeah,
network, maybe your
yeah,
school year level friends, no one's having it.
yeah,
So I'm relating maybe to my brother and my sister a little bit, but my brother's having kids at the same time as me. Like he's a new father.
yeah,
We're winging it together.
yeah,
So at that point in time was just learning. Yeah, I was learning, but I had this anxiety. I had this, now this physical issue, this physical
mm,
disability.
mm.
But that's also where I found God.
Interesting.
Okay,
What
because
happened?
um
And feel free to share as much or
yeah,
as
yeah, yeah.
little
No,
as
it
you
just
like.
it
Yeah.
just gets so um so all of this is happening 2000 and so between 2017, 18, 19, all of this is kind of occurring, okay? So just to put like a timeline around this. So end of 2018, I have a spiritual encounter with my dead grandfather. And it was through a person who essentially just said, I need to talk to you. It wasn't me going to like a medium. It wasn't me going to, it
Mm.
was literally someone that just goes, I need to talk to you. There's someone here who needs to speak to you and went blah. And it was my grandfather. And I say when I was speaking to her, it was literally like I was talking to my dead
Your
grandfather.
grandfather.
And he says to me, John, I love you. I'm proud of you. He's given me the words of encouragement. He says to me, John, I know you're disappointed that you didn't get my wedding ring. Go speak to your grandmother. There's a there's something for you in a black box. Go speak to her. I go the next day to go speak to my grandmother. She goes, if you're, I thought, honestly, I thought she was going to kick me out the house. Yeah. But she goes to me and says, this box, if your grandfather wants it, I'll give it to you. And inside the box, it was my grandfather's watches that he wore his whole life. But what was more important about it is that I am the youngest grandson of the whole family. And in the European side of things, the youngest gets nothing. Okay. It's very like monarchy kind of run. That box was for my eldest
Cousin.
cousin,
Yeah.
who's a boy as well too. Okay, not to be whatever, but the eldest boy. Yeah.
Mm.
So it went down the whole rank to me.
Mm.
Yeah. But at the same time, in that talking to that lady, my grandfather, who I never met, the one I was talking to that was fighting against
Your
the
dad's
Nazis,
dad. Yeah.
yeah, he says through her, I've been always watching you since the day you were born. And my grandmother, who's his wife, says, when I look into your eyes, John, well, used to say, God bless her soul, when I look into your eyes, I see my husband. Okay. My wife was their witness. I'm crying through that whole moment. I can't believe that experience happened. But then immediately after that, and I'm not, when I say immediate, I'm not talking like 15 minutes, I'm talking within days. Yeah. Something came to me and says, John, you've never fully believed with your heart and soul that Jesus is the Son of God.
Mm.
I don't know why it happened, Jane.
Mm.
I can't tell you why. The events are only very close to one another in a years of decades of living. Why did they both happen together? In one of my darkest moments, that happens. And then I went searching. And when I searched, I found. Since that point in my life, I can't describe my life but just beautiful. I honestly, like going from being dark moments, not wanting to get out of bed, thinking my life is crumbled in front of me, to the point where I'm speaking with one of my coaches and he's going like, what's next? And I'm struggling because I have everything I want. It's the
Mm.
most beautiful thing. I pray, I thank God for everything he's given me because I have everything. And what was interesting is after that, like literally maybe like 2 months after, I find myself at Stanford University, that curious boy again, learning in Stanford about strategic leadership in business. And then my mind just explodes in regards to the knowledge of what I can do. This kind of superpower came back.
Mm.
I then go back into my business and absolutely transform it. Since that point, the business has been honored or rewarded in 50 different awards and accolades. We've gone from a 3-person team to a 23-person team. I'm holidaying 10 to 12 weeks a year. Like,
Yeah.
so the transition was immense, but it
Yeah.
was very deep. It
Yeah.
was it was not reading a book, like as in, oh
Yeah.
my goodness, I've read this book
Yeah.
and it's no,
It
the
was
book that
from
probably
within.
changed my life was finding the Bible and finding Jesus, yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't push that on anyone because Jane, like my wife, she's Muslim. Yeah, my
Oh,
in-laws,
wow.
my in-laws are Muslim. Yeah,
Oh, wow. Interesting.
my I have friends who are Buddhist and Hindu and
Yeah.
like, how can I say it to someone like, and sorry, I'm getting really faithful based on this,
No,
but
not at
like
all. Please.
Jesus says, like, love one another as I have loved you. So I don't sit there and preach to people and say, you must follow me. And if you
Yeah.
don't follow me, these are the circumstances.
Mm.
I believe that Jesus will reveal himself to you, regardless of where you are, and you choose if you want to do that or not. Yeah, I'm not going to influence. I just want you to keep your ears open. I want you to keep your eyes open, and that's what happens. Now, my children, though, because of who she loves her children. Open your heart to whatever you want to do. Right now, they know my story. They know what's happened. My wife was witness to my story. Is Jesus close to my wife? Yes, it is. Yes, he is. Jesus in their religion is a prophet. Yeah. Do I believe that she believes that? She probably has seen enough to know that he's probably beyond that point. Yeah. But I'm not going to sit there and say, you
Yeah.
must get baptized, you must be this, because I just don't believe in my heart that you need to force people to do that.
Mm.
Whereas my children, yes, they were baptized by children as children, but they practice. And this is the other thing that I say with like religion based and stuff, like people who say they're Muslim, do you practice it? If you're Jewish, do you practice it? Like to be a Muslim, for example, you need to pray 5 times a day. You don't drink alcohol. You don't eat pork. You know what I mean? Like you need to go to Mecca. Like it's a part of your process. You work your way to heaven. If you're not doing that, it's the same as with Christianity. The number one rule of Christianity is love your neighbor as I have loved you. That's the number overarching one. So if you're saying you're Christian yet not performing that number one rule, are you really Christian? Yeah. And so I think it's about more what I'm trying to get at is what you practice, what you do, and don't influence. It'll come. Light attracts light. And
Mm.
that's where I see the atrocities that happen around the world. I can't believe it. Like what's going on in Palestine and Israel and all of that stuff. It's sad. Human life is
Mm.
being,
Mm.
yeah,
Disregarded and taken
disregarded.
away. Yeah.
Yeah.
So going back to that pre and post
Mm.
realization, then how would you describe success now?
Success is simply defined for me as the ability to spend time doing what you love doing with the people you love doing it with. That
Yeah.
is success to me. If you, if I speak to anyone and I say, if we kind of go from what I call surface-based goals to emotional-based goals to core-based goals, the core-based goals are usually those two, just wrapped in different words. Yeah.
Mm. Mm.
And so when you think about that, and I look at like the people before their deaths, like so people that are terminal, unfortunately, I'm working with someone right now. If I could give you anything right now, what would it be? I know, more time with the people I love doing the things I love doing.
Yeah.
So success is the ability to choose doing things that I love doing and spending it who I want to spend it with.
Yeah.
And that is success. So you can have people, and we know this because we get an insight into this chain. We got, many people that have all the money in the world, all the security in the world,
Yeah.
all the war chest in the world, but don't spend time with their kids. And then
Yeah.
when you speak to them and say, "Oh, don't you want to?" Oh, I've got no time. Well, what's all the money for?
Yeah.
So, that's been able, that success shift from security to
Yeah.
providing for tomorrow has now come into very present tense, hasn't it? As you can see, yeah, it's very present tense. Next week, Jane, I'm very fortunate. I'm going away to Europe and Egypt for 6 weeks. It was something that I remember one of the dreams that I kind of created with my wife was, we do want to have that experience where we go over to Europe, spend summers over there, kind of in Australia and have that. That's us. That's who we want. But I'd really struggled to spend the money
And the time.
and the time. Yeah. All
Yeah.
right, cool. But now we're going away for 6 weeks and we've been going away every single year for the last 4 or 5 years. COVID kind of stuffed that up a little bit, but since COVID, we've been going every year. But this year's very special because this year I said to my parents a couple of Christmases ago, I said, I love you so much and I can't reward you enough for what you've provided for me. I said, I can't. Okay, there's no number, there's no gift, there's nothing I give you. But as a token of appreciation, here's 2 tickets to Europe. And this was on Christmas, so they were expecting maybe a Bunnings gift card or something like that. And my mum is just like crying. Yeah. And you got to remember, my mum's like scarcity mindset. These are her parents I was referring to. So for her, this is like, oh my goodness.
Mm.
She's like, John, you sure you can afford this? I'm like, doesn't matter. Even if I can't, I'm doing it for you. And my dad like gives me a big hug, gives me a kiss. He's not very like he's affectionate, but not both of them
Okay.
aren't so much, but you get the gist. It was very out of character for them to show the amount of affection that they did
Mm.
because they understood that the acknowledgement from their son, not
Yeah.
actually the gift, the acknowledgement. So what I then said to my father, I said, Mum's just in hysterics right now. I said, Dad, where do you want to go? What do you want to do? Just pick a location. And it's interesting. He said to me, he goes, John, I either want to do like a safari in Africa or I want to go to Egypt and I want to go see the pyramids. Yeah. And I said, all right, well, I said, I want to go to the pyramids. I think my kids are too young to do safari at this stage. Yeah, I said, but we'll go to the pyramids. And um, I remember being a young kid and watching the History Channel and watching like Discovery with my dad on the couch, and we watched about Egypt and all of this stuff. So, in the next 5 to 6 weeks, I am going to have that photo that I will cherish forever in my wallet and in my house of my children, me and my parents in front of the pyramids. So that's success for me now, Jane. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's success for me.
Awesome. Well done.
Uh, yeah, I don't know. I think like what I did, some people spend more on a watch or on a bag or whatever, and for me, it's something that I'm going to remember. My kids are going to remember, and my wife, my parents are going to remember for the rest of their life. And as a little
Yeah.
bit of a kicker, they get to spend their 50th winning anniversary back in Malta where they were born. So,
Yeah.
that's also pretty special as well too for them.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think it's very important for us to take a moment and celebrate that, not achievement, but just the hard work that you have taken to get you to where you are now. Because not, spending time, first of all, time is a very limited resource that we all have.
Mm,
To do what you want takes a lot of work because you need to take some time to decide what is it that you want in life. I can't remember who said this initially, but this person said, if you don't know what you stand for, then you will mistake what other people's value as your value. And so that's where we go with, the watches, the handbags, because we thought that that was success because it was other people's success.
mm.
But once you have taken the time to actually figure out what your success is, what you actually value in life, what you like to do, then that becomes a much simpler process.
What 100%. And the most scariest thing is you living someone else's dreams.
Yeah.
So when you think about, unfortunately, like divorces and separations, and you think about things like that, unfortunately, when you speak to someone who's open, it was like I was living someone else's life.
Mm.
Okay. Right. It wasn't the life that not saying that's for everyone, but a big portion of what I hear. Yeah.
Mm.
Second one is major depressive cases. Yeah. Where they had everything in the world,
Yep.
but they didn't have everything in the world.
Yeah. I
And
can't remember who
exactly
it
what you
was.
said. And so
Yeah.
all of what I'm saying, these mental health or these issues that happen are exactly from that point. Yeah,
Mm.
is not knowing, and I'm a case of that. When
Mm.
you're free that position, yeah, and you're
Mm.
chasing security and all of that stuff, and not filling up your cup, not
Mm.
working on your ikigai because your ikigai is different to someone else's ikigai.
Mm.
Look where I found
Yeah.
myself. Yeah.
Yeah. There you go. So well done, you.
And I'm glad I just found it from a young age. And in hindsight, people used to say, John, it's actually interesting because that event happened. So I'm 36, 37 now. That happened when I was a 30, yeah, roughly.
Oh,
So you got
wow.
to think about it like 30 spinal surgery. I still got
Yeah.
like issues now, but like people that think it's a disability for me,
Mm.
think about the enlightenment I got.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like I've just viewed life a completely different way. And I thank God that I learnt it so young.
Yeah.
Yeah, because now I just shape my fatherhood, my being. I'm a better husband
Everything.
now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like better everything. Correct.
Yeah. And you're not chasing the KPIs, you're not chasing
Mhm.
the bottom line, you're chasing impact and purpose.
Correct.
So, what's life like for you right now? You're running a business, you're
Mhm.
creating your own purpose in the world, not just in financial planning world, but also your own. You
Mm.
have 23 employees to look after, you have three boys, a beautiful wife. How are you making it all happen?
Um, being very purposeful with my time. Yeah, time management for me first and foremost is like on point. Okay, so time management is very important. Um, there's no wasted time. Okay, and people might see that as like very oh, he's very rigid. No, it's not that it's rigid. It's just everything's purposeful. Like
Yeah.
Mondays and Wednesdays, I am at soccer training with my boys.
Hmm.
I'm there. Care. I'm there. That's dad and boys time. Yeah. the relationships that I have with them is amazing. And yes, I had to change my diary because I used to work on those times and I used to make adjustments. And so what do I need to do in the business? So right now in the business, I've got advisors. There's five of them, and those five advisors, I'm the advisor of the advisors. They're going to come to me with complex situations. How do I work through things? Jane, as you're aware, not every financial advisor has the capability to not only make you financially free, but also make you fulfilled. That fulfillment point, that second bit, has come with not only life experience, but with the 40,000 plus hours that I've dedicated to the profession in regards to the behavioral finance, psychology, and all of that sits behind that. So, very much day to day in the business is focusing on working with those advisors for them to become better at what they do. And I'm very blessed to have, some advisors have been with me for 7, 8 years. Others have been with me for 4 or 5. So and some have 12 months, but some of the more ones that have been with me for longer, they're very good. And so then they start to teach the people that are coming through. And we've got this little bit of like this academy. We've got about the next 2 years of advisors lined up in like
Oh,
an
wow.
academy process.
Cool.
So, we have we hire very young, we hire very early. We want to kind of do what we believe is the proper thriving wealth way. So that takes time, but that's
Mm.
okay. It works for us. So I would say that, business is fast paced. It's the F1 car of financial advice. Everyone that always comes to work with us, they always go, "Oh my goodness, I can't believe how fast you go." And we do. It's just who I am. But when it comes to my family, you know, I don't miss an assembly that my sons need me to be at. I'm not missing it. Like we're there. And that's number one, families first, as you can see. But also as well too, we work hard, we play hard, everything's, so right now we're selling one house, we've bought our dream home, we're moving into our dream home, we're about to build that, we're going overseas.
There's quite a lot.
It's
Yeah.
yeah, people that get a glimpse into my world, they're just like you said, how do you do it all?
Yeah.
It's just like I have an epic wife. Like my wife is an absolute superstar. Yeah. Just not only to take care of me, she studied psychology, so I'm probably her one and only patient, but that's okay. There's enough of me to sort out. But also to manage the home and the three boys and all of their demands and everything. So I think also as a couple have been really good in defining our roles. Yeah.
Mm.
It was around my wife's Burjo, like, where do you need me? And where do I need her? And it's a beautiful place. I'm very blessed. I found her when she was 19 years old. I got her off the
Oh,
market
wow.
as quickly as I could because I knew I was on a winner. And I wasn't wrong. Best decision I've ever made. So, um, having a partner like that loves you and you love her and you're in this together,
Mm.
um, we get it done. And the boys, fortunately, they see that closeness of that bond, and I hope that they're able to replicate that strong family bond because that's one of the values that we want to instill.
Yeah. Awesome. What was the biggest transition that you experienced as a couple? And
Mm.
without going into the details, how were
Mm.
you able to manage them or navigate through them?
Yeah, well, there's been a few. Like we talk about the religion one. Like when we first started actually dating, some family members are like marrying a terrorist. Because you got to remember, like this is the height of like September 11 happening. And
Oh,
then on the
wow.
on the
Yeah.
on the backlash of all of that stuff, like
Yeah.
not right when September 11. I'm talking about like you got to remember that whole kind of stigma, yeah, that flowed on for ages. You're talking
Mm.
Iraq War, Afghanistan War, all of that stuff, and you know people get painted with the same brush.
Mm.
So we're getting that. We're getting like, how are you marrying a Muslim? Like your kids are not going to enter into the gates of heaven, blah blah blah. So we had to work really tight within that. Yeah, really tight. And I needed to learn about her religion because I didn't know about it. Was foreign to me, like she
Mm.
was foreign to me. And we actually, we were both like, oh, there's actually a lot of similarities here. It doesn't
Yeah.
sound like,
I mean, it came from the same seed.
yeah, you know what I mean? Like
It's
it's
just
very
one
similar,
goes
just
to A, one
two
goes to
different
B.
versions.
Yeah,
Yeah, two
exactly.
different versions.
Yeah.
And so that was good because that kind of got us through that, which, as young kids, so what, 20s, the early 20s at that point, you know what I mean? Like
Mm.
we're learning to kind of, nothing's not perfect. And we traveled a bit as a couple, and that's always interesting. You're now not living with each other, but you're traveling and you're seeing the new world and you're creating this, so that all of that. And then, becoming parents is
A huge shift.
huge.
Yeah.
She's breastfeeding, she's up at night. I'm committing to the morning shift. So, morning could be start 4:30 morning, it could be 5:30, it could be whatever. And I'm used to sleeping in, just the normal guy at that point, just sleeping in. Now I can't sleep past 5:30 probably now, but you get used to it anyway. But working through that, and then, baby's crying, when we first had our first son, he was born, but the umbilical cord was wrapped around his head and he couldn't
Oh.
breathe for the first 12 minutes of life. And, for those in the medical game go, that's probably nothing. But, for a first time parent, that's like, that's traumatic. Yeah. We
Mm.
thought that we were going to lose our son. And so that then creates that anxiety that's sitting with that. My wife as well, too. And then John has his spinal surgery. John's in this mental health problem. And, I've said it on other podcasts before, but, where my wife's saying like, John, get out of bed, get out of bed. Like your story's not done. What a woman. You know what I mean? Yeah, I had an income protection policy and we were fine financially, you know what I mean? Like we're right. But like she knows me. She knows the person that she fell in love with, and that's not the person that's in this bed. So she went through a lot. And through this whole process, my grandfather, he passed away. Then my grandmother passes away. Her grandfather passes. We go through all of those transitions in life, and now we've got our three beautiful children, and we're jamming in what we're doing. We're holidaying, we're spending time with them. We're all having good time. We were dancing this morning, put some Shrek music on, and we were all dancing in the kitchen, which was lovely. But we're learning, hopefully becoming better. But yeah, there's been a lot of transitions. Yeah, a lot of different things, and life's not linear. You get knocked down, and
Yeah.
so how we get our back up, and I just have a epic partner that I can do that with.
Yeah. Awesome. It sounds like you were each other's best friends and you had each other's back, whether if it was, navigating different religious beliefs and managing how people see you, how people perceive you, and also accept you, both as a couple, whether if it was, waking up early in the morning and, navigating the different shifts in how the newborn face was going to look like,
Mm.
to looking after you, yes, physically, but also calling out the shots when she needed to, and just calling it out as it is. And maybe that was the exact thing that you needed to hear at the moment.
Yeah, uh, especially, I while you were talking, another event happened with our second child. He had a piece of food that was stuck in his throat, and he started to go purple. Yeah, like we were losing him.
Mm.
And she's there trying to take it out, like do what she's got to do. And I can
Yep.
see my wife just crying.
Yep.
And I remember doing first aid. So everyone do your first aid course. It
Yeah.
saved my son's life. I turn him over and I just whack him as hard
Yeah.
as I can. I'm like, mate, I'm going to break ribs. I don't care.
Yeah.
Like I'm getting this
Yeah.
thing out. And luckily, it started to open up the way, but it didn't go the full way. And then I said to my wife, I said, last resort, I wrote, we're losing. He's purple. We're waiting for
Yeah.
ambos to come. I
Yeah.
put my finger in his mouth and I pulled it out. And when I
Mm.
pulled it out, I didn't pull it out completely, but I broke it. And so it let the air come through. And then,
Right.
but for her, I know that was massive traumatic
Yeah.
experience. But like, obviously, we don't want that to happen. But like all of these things, just
Brought you closer together.
they
Yeah.
do, yeah, because it's through those hard times where you're doing things together. And like I said, it hurts me even hearing about what my son did because that was full on. But I think just as a couple, we've had enough tough times.
Mm.
Being married, we celebrate our 10-year wedding anniversary this year. Like we've had enough in our marriage over 10 years that some
Mm.
people don't have in 20 years or 30 years of their life. Yeah.
Mm.
And
Mm.
that obviously has made us, I think, much stronger. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. If you could give yourself, let's say that young John in daycare who was
Yeah.
reading the book to everyone and telling Miss, I've got this. You can take a break now. If you could give that younger John just one advice, knowing all of the wealth of knowledge that you know now, what would you tell him?
Um, be patient. Okay, be patient. Good things take time. Even now, I have to learn to slow down. Very effective I am with my time, but I need to slow down. Okay. And it's a transition, you know, being so fast as I was, very effective, efficient with my time. I've just had to slow down so that I can smell the roses a little bit better. But also, with my coach is around like, John, you fail so quickly and so effectively, you're actually failing too often. Now, in business, they say fail quickly, fail often, fail
Very
cheaply.
fast. Yeah.
Yeah, fail fast. I'm failing so fast that there's
Yep.
things that I probably even shouldn't be failing on.
Yep.
But obviously, yes, on one side it's making me successful, but I need to work on just being a bit patient. And that young boy, if you spoke to that young boy at like 5, 6 years old, yeah, taking over the world. I wanted to be a cartoonist, but not just any cartoonist. I wanted to be the cartoonist of Disney. Do you know what I mean? Like it was always,
Yep.
so it's just like be patient. Good things take time. Yeah. And um surround yourself with the right people. Okay. Because now looking back at my life, look at all of these people that have just been amazing people in my life. My mother, my grandmother, like all of these people, my wife, my grandfather, and all of them. Like, just surround yourself with the right people. Put yourself into circles of good people, but also negative people, whining people. Delete them. Delete them. You might like them, but if they are going to be like that, delete them. That negative energy you do not need. It is not your problem. Um, so yeah, I think the two main ones would be just be patient. Good things take time, okay? And surround yourself with the right people. Yeah.
Awesome. And the last question that I always ask all guests in the show
Mm.
is, what is your alpha dad song?
Oh, this is very interesting. So when I want to take things up a level, yeah, I always,
I don't know what that looks like, John.
yeah, it's full on. Let's go with let's paint the picture. Deadline's looming, couple of hours time.
Yeah,
John needs to get in the zone and turn into super version of John.
yeah,
It's hardcore trance, like hardcore. I'm talking about like um very interestingly, I've probably never got like I haven't got tested for it, but there's probably a bit of ADD going on here. Yeah. Everyone
a
that's gone,
well-functioning ADHD, if
yeah,
that.
yeah, well functioning. Yeah. I spoke to an underwriter, Jane, and they're like, listen, John, you don't need to get tested. We've got the verbal confirmation here. Anyway. But yeah, very interesting. Things that are like really high pace, like
Energy, high beat.
yeah, it
Yeah.
actually soothes me. It actually,
Oh,
yeah, so yeah, it's like well, maybe the word's not soothing, but it aligns my thought patterns. And
yeah,
so I always talk about like my friends, we had a factory. It was like a party factory. Okay. It was the dad's factory, but we'd go there and we'd get up to mischief. Okay. But they'd have like techno playing. Yeah. And I would be doing my uni exams. Yeah. Like all my uni assignments, sorry. Yeah. And so I would have this hardcore techno either in my ears or in my headphones. And I just learn from there that was my thing. Yeah.
yeah,
And so that's my alpha dog dad song that needs to when he needs to take it up a level.
yeah. That's awesome. I think because you're generating such high energy when their energy around you reverberates in the same frequency. It gives you the spot of, okay, I can relax now because I'm humming now. I'm humming along.
Correct. And so yeah, so Jane, catch me on a beach lying down and you'll see me like, what am I doing here? I need to do something. Give me a Nerf gun. Let me shoot someone.
Give you a shark to
Yeah,
deal
just do something,
with.
please. Like, let something out. So, yeah, no, but you know what? That's what I was talking about. It like obviously around the patience side of things. I've had to learn to,
Yeah.
you've got kids sometimes that fall asleep in your arms,
Yeah. Well,
you
kids
know?
your age, you do need the patience. You do need to slow down. And
Correct.
it's okay to do that. It's not.
Yeah, and it's actually really good for you to do that. Your
Yeah.
ability to kind of slow down and for me to me to slow down just allowed me to appreciate things a little bit more.
Yeah.
And one of the ones that's also helped me do that is just reading, like returning back to reading. And,
Mm.
last year between June and December, I read the Bible cover to cover. So 66 books within
Wow.
6 months. And yes, I do everything 110% when I do it. It's just like I've heard to other people and they're like, it's taken me 18 months, 2 years, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And yeah, don't get me wrong, when you get into the book of Numbers and Deuteronomy and stuff, that's deep.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, but I read a lot. I read a lot, and that reading allows me to kind of just, if I find it helps me slow down too. Yeah, it
Yeah.
helps me just whatever book it is. I think I'm reading The Courage of Being Disliked at the moment, and just being able to go to bed and not look at my phone and read a book or do something that's really good.
Yeah. That's awesome. You don't need that courage. I don't think anyone would dislike you, John. But-
Honesty is a big part of my core values, and so sometimes people don't like me because I am so honest, and that comes from my mother. So as the soccer dad who's kind of on the sidelines, sometimes with my eldest, I know that the other parents are looking at me probably going like he's too honest with his son. But
Okay.
but my son responds well to honesty. He's like, if
Yeah.
he's played a bad game, he wants to know if he's played a bad game. But
Yeah.
also equally, if he's played a really good game,
Yeah.
he wants to be rewarded for that really good game. So it's like
Yeah.
it's some people ruffle up their feathers a little bit.
Yeah.
But also, there's a lot of people that really respect that honesty and that authentic approach. So, yesterday, I had in our world, Jane, is going to be interesting for you. I had an AFCA ombudsman come to be a client of mine. Okay.
Oh, wow.
Went through the scenario, I went through everything, and they just weren't ready to work with us. Yeah. They weren't
Yeah.
ready. And I was just blatantly honest. I said,
Yeah.
you got to do this. You got to go do this. You got to go work with a money coach. I'll help you. I'll point you in the right direction, but you're not suited for us right now. Yeah.
Yeah.
I need you to go away and do this. Now, there's two people. One person will say, oh, well, and get, but then there's the other person. I think it's the majority of people who are just like, thank you for being so honest. You didn't
Mm.
try and like win me
Mm.
over as a client. You didn't like
Mm.
whatever. So I just live my thing, and unfortunately, like I said, those whiners and all of that stuff, they don't like that.
Yeah. But that's okay.
So I can't like, and not everyone can like us. Yeah,
Yeah. Cool.
cool.
All right, John Cachia, it's been a pleasure having you in the Breadwinning Mums podcast. Thank you for sharing us your story.
Thank you, and thanks for me for jumping on. Appreciate it.
Perfect. See you next time.
See ya.
This episode of the Breadwinning Mums was produced by me, Jane Lim, and our theme music was produced by Sam McNally. We recorded this episode on the lens of Dark people who have passed their parenting story for generations. We pay our respects to the elders past and present and thank them for caring for country. Connect with us through LinkedIn or Instagram at Breadwinning Mums. Until next time.